Hey there, welcome back to Reddit XO, the best channel for Reddit cheating stories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more stories like these. Now, let's get into the video. My wife cheated on me. I am about to get a divorce. What should I do? Please advise me. Dear colleagues, this is a really awkward question since I have no idea what to do next. Please let me know if you have any experience with this. My experience: after receiving my PhD in EE, I became an international student. I met and married my wife. My first job salary is now not too awful considering I work in a tiny town in Iowa. So, in a nutshell, the salary is $100,000 each year. My family and my wife's family are quite different. My family is well educated. My mother is a professor, and my father works for a stock business. Her mother is a waitress who hardly speaks English, and her dad works in a tiny firm of 4-8 people. Anyway, they are unquestionably wonderful people, but they are unconcerned with education. So, once I met my wife, I began to pay tuition for the dental hygienist school in New Mexico. The annual cost is between $6,000 and $10,000. I've already paid for 4 years. I like children and wanted to have them, but I am unable to do so since I believe she will be unable to complete her studies while caring for children. By the way, I had a lot of pressure as a postdoc, but I couldn't discuss or speak about it with my wife since she doesn't know how to react at all. I started my present work in Iowa 2 years ago. She is still in New Mexico since her studies aren't finished yet, and we have a lot of disagreements. Basically, there are 2 things. 1. My apartment is too little for her. She doesn't want to come here. Instead, she repeatedly said that she wanted to find work in California. 2. Because my salary of $100,000 is too low, she requested a 50% raise every 2-3 years. Yes, I'm a loser in her eyes. I did all I could to impress her with my business and my location, such as showing her around my tiny town here and showing her how the firm looked on the inside. She abruptly said about a month ago that she wanted to pursue her master's degree, so she won't come to my place. So I saw something coming towards the conclusion of the year. If she eventually decides not to join me, I may file for divorce. Yesterday, though, there was a bomb. One person messaged me on Facebook Messenger. 1. They've been in a relationship since January 2021. All they do is phone and video chat. They haven't met yet. 2. My wife assured him that they would be together and that she would travel to California to work. Everything makes sense now. 3. He called me because he said something too forcefully to my wife, so he blacklisted him. So he basically bombarded my wife's FB friends with messages. 4. He phoned me and said he gave her approximately $1,000 throughout the course of the 8 months, and she also sent him something, but it wasn't expensive, from my money of course. 5. Let's face it, this man has no idea my wife is married. My wife never told him the truth about her marital status. 6. Of course, this person has no idea who I am. I was speaking calmly. My wife confirmed everything was real when I caught her red-handed. I screenshotted the communication from that person. Soon after the phone call, we decided that we would separate gently, which implies that I owe you nothing and you owe me nothing. Now for my question: what should I do to safeguard myself? Please let me know. How can this divorce be handled peacefully? My wife is immature, but she is not a nasty person. But I don't want any unpleasant shocks afterwards. I simply want to get this over with as soon as possible. Please provide me with specific information on those procedures. Just briefly, how much does this item cost? I have a snapshot of the guy's FB Messenger. Almost everything he said was captured in the screenshot. The $1,000 present tale happened over the phone. I don't have the record. My past is straightforward. Me and her don't have many common assets. We both live in apartments and do not own a home. My automobile title is also unique to me. We do not have any children. We don't have any business-related items. I may be asked a lot of questions. Please inquire, and I will respond here. Thank you for your help. Story 2. I discovered 20+ years later my wife cheated on me the same day I did. I'll attempt to make this narrative brief since it has numerous details that I'll store for a later piece. Please accept any errors since I am writing on my phone and am not a natural English speaker. My wife and I began when we were quite young. She dated a few men previously, but nothing serious, just making out and groping. Before I had intercourse with a few of ladies. Our life has been amazing since we started dating. We both studied the same field at the same institution, and were both chosen for internships at the same public organization in our final year. But she and another student were there first, and I arrived 6 months later after they were done. There was a distance between us throughout those 6 months, while she was working there. I continued to take lessons. I recall feeling a little envious when she spoke about her job and her colleagues, especially one of them, who was 3 or 4 years older than me and was an attractive and clever man. We even went to numerous social gatherings with them and their families while she was there, and I knew everyone. So, in her final month there, I had an affair with a girl I met on the internet. I don't want to blame anything on the distance between us. It was all my fault, and it's nothing I'm proud of. This scenario lasted a few months, and our relationship did not end, but it did worsen significantly, as you may expect. First, I was cheating her with this girl, and afterwards, I was so humiliated and terrible about what I had done that I couldn't even look her in the eyes. She never questioned about it, despite the fact that she was clearly aware that I was seeing someone else. Then I began my 6-month internship with this company, and things between us gradually returned to normal, though my sorrow for cheating on her took years to overcome. So, 4 years later, we married, had 2 children, and our lives have been great in practically every way I can think of. I say nearly because we are just like any other couple, and we have had our share of problems, but nothing major. Our life has also been quite wonderful, and it has been even better as our children have gained more independence. I'd always fantasized of MMF, with her as the F, and I finally confessed to her. We integrated this into our filthy conversation and had a great time with it. She believed it was just a dream, but I informed her a few months ago that I wanted to make it a reality. She was astonished at first, but eventually consented, and we decided to begin looking for the perfect person. I often imagine her in this MMF situation, as well as having with some man on her alone. I regularly envision her bringing a man to her hotel during one of her work travels. I'm not into her hot wifing, but the idea of her having makes me swoon. So I informed her about it, and while she was in bed, I started asking her about her prior experiences. She always claimed she had only had with me, but I pushed, telling her I didn't mind if she cheated on me once in a while. And I didn't mind since we were talking about bringing a man to our bed after all. She always said she had no intercourse with anybody else, but one day while I inquired whether she had sucked another guy's cock. The response was the same. I then inquired whether she had touched another cock, to which she replied, yes. I was taken aback, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for many days. I had my narrative and I wanted to know more, but I didn't want to hear about any juvenile touches she received when she was very little. I brought up the matter again the following time we were and she started telling me about a time when she had a man. When I inquired when or where, she said she didn't want to tell me because I know who he was. I guess my surprise started when I realized she was talking seriously to someone I knew. I didn't have to press her anymore, and she told me it was during her internship's goodbye party. I recognized who he was right away. Shock is a pretty modest term to express how I felt at the time. Suddenly, I realized it had to have occurred on the same day, if not the same week, that I was with this other female I mentioned at the start. But most importantly, a few months later, I started working there, and I had this man sat in front of me for an entire year. I worked there for another 6 months after my internship finished, chatting about pretty much everything, mostly football and music, our common interests. Many years later, I felt punished for my dishonesty. As she said, she was aware of it, and her guilt about what she had done just gone when she discovered I was seeing another female, and she also felt punished. We had felt the same way, despite the fact that we were 20 years apart. I comprehended why she never questioned me about it, why she never chastised me for it. This is what occurred. After the farewell supper, they headed out for drinks. As the night progressed, the others left, until it was only them two. She said they had had a large amount of alcohol. She offered to drive her home, and they proceeded to his vehicle, where he kissed her and asked whether she wanted to go to her house or his. They proceeded to his home in another nearby town, about 20 minutes away, where she was living alone. His girlfriend, now wife, didn't reside there yet. They kissed in the coach, and she quickly lowered his trousers and started sucking him. They then went to bed, where he put on a condom, and she claims she had a little cock, and he didn't appear to get completely erect. He just lasted a few minutes, and she simply held him inside while on top and continued moving till she arrived. If we simply speak about she admits it was probably the booze, but she was a little dissatisfied with him. She started to regret it, as did he, and they didn't discuss much more. He drove her home, and they never spoke about it again, despite the fact that she only went back to the office once to grab her stuff. A few months later, I was sitting in front of him every morning for a year. To round off the scenario, I ran into him again a few months ago after a long absence. We exchanged information about our work and families, and as I was leaving, I asked for his phone because I had a project that he would be interested in. I stated this because it wasn't the appropriate time to discuss it, but I'd want to have a drink with him and tell him that I know that everything is okay, but I'm aware. What are your thoughts?